Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 26th of January 2024, and these are the stories that we will try to understand and decipher during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the day 112 of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and of course, the historic ruling that has been given by the International Court of Justice that has dismissed Israel's plea. And of course, it was delivering its ruling on the emergency measures requested by South Africa in its genocide case against Israel over its war on the Gaza Strip. The court has said that Israel, among other steps, should also take the necessary measures to prevent the acts of genocide in Gaza, but did stop short of ordering a ceasefire. The judges have not ruled on the merits of the genocide allegations, which may take years to decide, as was also said while the judge was addressing all the people who were sitting in the ICJ. Also, since 7th of October, 26,083 people have been killed, while more than 64,000 people have been injured. There is a state of desperation, of famine that is slowly engulfing Palestine. This is going to be part of our discussion during our first story. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the involvement of RAW behind terrorist activities in Pakistan. And we will also highlight, along with this, the Black Day that is being observed by the Kashmiris across the world, including in Pakistan today, because today is India's Republic Day, and this is to protest the persistent denial of the democratic right to self-determination by India. We also the press conference, the media brief that was given by the Foreign Secretary yesterday, along with the spokesperson of the Foreign Office, in which they detailed the Indian hands in activities within Pakistan. And that was a very important statement, because there were all of these statements were corroborated by proofs, by the copies of the ID cards of the two Indian agents who were involved in the killing of Pakistani citizens in Pakistan. And this is just an extension of what has been happening as far as India's transnational terrorism is concerned, whether it be in Canada or in the United States of America, in the United Kingdom, and now in Pakistan. This is going to be our highlight for today. Also, we will be talking about Pakistan's United Nations envoy Munir Akram, who has talked about the Indian role and what needs to be done. And he was talking at the United Nations, and of course he was highlighting what needs to be done. This is going to be part of our second story. Finally, we're going to talk about NASA's Mars helicopter mission that has now ended. Now, the Ingenuity Mars helicopter, which had made history by achieving the first powered flight on another world, has officially ended its 3-year flight on Mars because one of its rotors got damaged, and of course it can work, but because of the rotor not functioning, it cannot do the operation for which it had been put on Mars. The 3 years of very successful operations and pictures and videos that were shared by NASA through this to the entire world. Finally, we'll be talking about a snow sculpture festival happening in China, in the city of Harbin in northeastern China, which has become the latest internet phenomenon, with millions flocking to experience its winter tourism. The city that's preparing to host the next Asian Winter Games is home to a one-of-a-kind ice and snow festival, and that is what we will highlight in our last story. Let's begin with our first, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the ruling by the International Court of Justice, a ruling that was on a plea that was made by South Africa against Israel. That and more is going to be discussed in our story, but we'll begin with the ruling of the International Court of Justice. We have with us in the studios Abdulrahman Matar. He's an Arab journalist. Thank you very much, Abdulrahman Matar. We are seeing you after a very long time in our show. Welcome to Newsroom. Let's begin with the ruling of the International Court of Justice. How do you see it? Do you feel it is justified in whatever it said? Do you feel there were some things that we were looking for, like a ceasefire, or maybe the allegation of genocide that had been put by South Africa on Israel to be confirmed during this ruling, but that did not happen? Why, in your point of view, did the ICJ stop short?
First of all, let me say that taking up the case by the ICJ and accepting the plea of South Africa means that there is still some kind of a level of humanity in this world. The ruling of today, it reflects again the sentiment of the international community, as I believe. Yes, they did not order any kind of a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire, just like what they have did recently in case of Ukraine and Russia, by the way. The ICJ recently took a very harsh ruling against Russia in case of Ukraine when it was approached a few months back regarding the war in Ukraine. This didn't happen today. And I believe the ruling is incomplete since they did not order an immediate ceasefire. And they have given also a chance for Israel to continue its activities inside Gaza for a month, for a period of a month. In today's ruling, Israel was given a period of a month to implement the ruling, which means that, okay, Israel can continue on this. And let us remember and let us notice what the Israeli Prime Minister replied to this, commented on this. He immediately rejected the ruling and he said that Israel is the victim and Israel has the right to defend itself and it will continue in doing what it is doing inside Gaza since the last 112 days. So it means that ICJ cannot implement its ruling as well. Earlier, the United Nations, 153 members of the United Nations, they have taken, they have agreed on a ceasefire and resolution, and it was rejected by United States. Again, it was rejected by Israel. So practically nothing is happening. It is just, the diplomacy, the narrative is, maybe the Israeli narrative lost, yes, but, practically nothing is happening. People are being killed daily since the last 112 days. People inside Gaza are besieged and they have no facilities. UN facilities inside Gaza has been attacked, bombarded by the Israeli army. No one is stopping them. No one is stopping Israel from killing the innocent Palestinians. This is the reality. This is what is happening practically. And it is continuing, unfortunately.
All right. Now, let's talk about the ruling and the different reactions that have come, at least from the international front. First of all, I feel, because I was watching the ruling as well as it was happening, although it did make me emotional because the lady was stating the facts as per the United Nations estimates. The number of killed, the number of injured, the situation as far as the children is concerned, the situation as far as the health crisis is concerned, the situation as far as the food crisis is concerned. And although she did, elaborate on all of that as per the United Nations estimates, but of course at the end we were we thought there would be a stronger ruling as far as maybe implicating Israel as being behind genocide or implying a ceasefire. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, the ICJ's ruling, as Israel had said, would not have mattered to Israel, because even if the ICJ would have given a ruling as strict as that, there would have been no reaction as far as the imposition of that is concerned.
Exactly.
I'd like to refer to what Mr. Riyad al-Maliki, the Palestinian Minister for Foreign Affairs, has said. He says no state is above the law, and that is what the ICJ ruling has shown. What is the general Palestinian reaction as far as this ruling is concerned? Do you feel that this is a step, if not the culmination, or a step maybe in the right direction as far as implicating Israel in the brutalities that it is committing?
No doubt it is a step in the right path. And the Palestinian authorities' reaction was also clear. You have seen the statement by the foreign minister. And of course they are welcoming the ruling as it is, in favor of the Palestinian people. But let me tell you about the Palestinian people themselves. The Palestinian people, the people who are suffering directly, practically from this occupation since the last 75 years, the people of Gaza who are suffering from this attacks, killings, bombardments since the last 112 days, what they think? They don't see, they don't imagine, they don't think about United Nations, ICJ. They don't know these things, and they don't have communication. They don't have electricity. They don't have water. They don't have medicine. They don't have anything since the last 112 days. So definitely, I'm sure they never even heard about the ICJ ruling or the case itself. And for them, it doesn't matter, by the way. It doesn't matter. Since the occupier is killing them daily, attacking them, using the American latest, most advanced technology, weapons, aircraft, missiles, shells, everything. And this is what they know. They know that the enemy is killing them, and the United Nations is just, speaking, talking, issuing statements.
A large group of Palestinians were waiting for humanitarian assistance at a roundabout in Gaza City, and they were fired upon by Israeli forces yesterday. 20 people were killed, 150 were injured. This has been reported by OCHA officially. So there has been international condemnation and outrage as far as this is concerned. This action adds to the whole list of all that we have just been discussing. What concrete actions, in your point of view, we've talked about the ICJ ruling, but what concrete actions need to be taken against the Israeli government and forces? As a Palestinian, as an Arab journalist, what's your take?
No one could, since the last 112 days, force Israel to stop the genocide, the attacks, the bombardment of Gaza. Why? Because all of us know that they have a very big friend and they have a very big supporter. Its name is United States. So I think the efforts should be, putting pressure on the United States to force Israel to stop the genocide happening in Palestine. Unfortunately, this is not happening. The Arab countries, the neighboring countries who have a direct access to the Palestinian territory, especially Egypt, which is one of the largest Arab countries with 100+ million population, they are so weak that the 14-kilometer border with Gaza, they cannot even send food supplies or water supply to the besieged Palestinian population over there. This is really really disappointing. This really disappointing, and as if it gives an idea, as if even those countries are, in a way or another, they are helping Israel, because they are not pressurizing the United States. They are not even sending food supplies to the Palestinians. This is really unfortunate, but this is a reality. What the Palestinian has, this is what they feel, this is what they see, this is what they live every day.
And I totally agree with you on that. I mean, this is what they are living every day, and we see that in the the reports that come every single day. With every passing hour, there are new casualties. There are people who are who are facing disease. There's hepatitis A that has struck some of the camps where they are staying. There's a lack of food, water, and medicine, and so on. I mean, let's go in detail in all of that. You talked about the United States of America. There's an upcoming visit of the CIA Director William Burns. He's going to meet with Israeli, Egyptian, and Qatari officials, and there is some hope that there's going to be a negotiated process between the Palestinian and the Israeli side. This has been said by the former U.S. Secretary of Defense and Lawrence Korb. Do you feel that there could be positive developments? You also know that the EU is trying to get both the sides, the Palestinian and the Israeli sides, together to talk on a possible ceasefire or a truce. What are the expectations?
Let us hope. I don't think the Palestinians have anything more than hope of this visit and of all these efforts and talks and meetings and consultations. I think nothing is there more than a hope, because there was a series of visits, there was a series of meetings, and they have reached to nothing in the last 112 days, except in one case, which was when there was a very limited type of ceasefire or a truce, they call it, and that was limited with so many conditions, blah 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 blah. So I think even now, with all these efforts taking place by the United States and by European Union, some Arab countries is involved as well, I think nothing more than a hope is to be expected, since the Israeli is very rigid in their position. Israelis, even today, after the ruling of the ICJ, the Israeli Prime Minister came on TV and he announced and he said that we are the victims and we have the right to defend ourselves and we will continue, as if they believe in no peace talks, no negotiations, no truce, no ceasefire. Even the only truce we had during those 112 days, which was even during those 4 days, Israeli army was, the snipers were targeting and killing the innocent Palestinians. So I think, let us wait and see. A lot of effort is taking place, a lot of visits, and just hopes.
Let's talk of what the Palestinians are facing. Khan Yunus, continual bombardments. The hospitals, none of the hospitals is in a working state. They are doing with whatever they have, with whatever they can manage with, but this is the case. 2.3 million people are under Israel's bombardment since the 7th of October. Babies born sick to malnourished mothers, infants losing weight, mothers unable to produce breast milk, and injured patient too weak from hunger to fight off the infections. Wide area of the territory facing famine. This is, of course, an official United Nations estimate. The food situation in the north of Gaza is horrific. There's no food available. Everyone that the UN talks to is begging for food, quote unquote. UNICEF says that 10,000 children in Gaza are at risk of wasting in the coming days because of malnutrition, because of which is going to lead to bad brain development. And there's a whole, if I just go into the lists of what is happening and what the Palestinians are facing, and then more than 26,000 people killed to date and 64,487 wounded. At least 183 people have been killed just in the last 24 hours. What is the world waiting for, that the entire Palestinian territory be exterminated?
It seems to be like that. What really, there is one thing to be really noticed, that United Nations is giving these estimates and figures and numbers. And the United Nations knows that its own centers inside Gaza has been attacked.
Yes.
The shelters, which was announced by United Nations, is being attacked. And the problem is that even United Nations cannot stop Israel. So who else can stop Israel? I mean, what they are waiting for, I think they are not waiting for anything. They are simply waiting for the Palestinian, the whole, this 2.3 to be killed, to leave Gaza, to flee from Gaza.
So that they can put their own settlers there.
Because for us, the Palestinians, as if there is some kind of a conspiracy, which is practically taking place. Everybody is playing his own role. Somebody is giving the figures, somebody is, in so many cases, there was announcement by the United Nations to the public that, okay, you have to reach to this center because this is the safe place now. You have to protect yourself, your family, your kids in this center. As soon as the people reach to the center, it is attacked.
But do you know that there was?
It means the conspiracy is there.
But there was GPS, points that were given where these people will be to the Israeli forces, so that they do not bombard those areas.
But they do.
And they exactly did the opposite, as you have yourself been saying. So there is a deliberate attempt by Israel to not allow aid of any kind to properly reach the Palestinian people, because what they want to do at the end is to, put them in such a situation that they cannot survive in the long run. I think this is what I feel. This is my personal opinion.
This is what is happening. This is what the people are facing every day in Gaza. People in Palestine, I'm sure, since the last maybe 112 days now this war is taking place, but I'm sure since the last 50 or 60 days now they started realizing that, okay, there is some kind of a conspiracy against us.
I remember of the delegation of different Arab countries that went together to meet all the different countries across the world to find some kind of a solution. Then there were the Qatar mediated efforts that have been going on. They are still going on, that Israel is quite against, in fact, with the US is supporting, but Israel is not supporting at all. So countries are trying to do, but somehow there is a limitation to what they can or what they cannot do. But let's talk about something, and that I'd like your point of view on, as that is the two-state solution. A lot of people talk of the two-state solution. That is the only solution at this current moment, and that we have been talking about this for a very, very long time. Coming to the United States of America, majority of the Democrats in the Senate have also backed a statement reiterating US support for a two-state solution to this conflict. How important, in your point of view, is the two-state solution under the current circumstances?
Omar, there is a reality, there is a fact, there is a history, nobody can deny it. The two-state solution was an initiative by the Arab countries in 2002. It was completely at once rejected by Israel. there was so many peace agreements signed with Israel by the Arab countries to have this solution of the two-state to be implemented. It was again, agreed on paper, signed by Israel, but it was practically rejected. Since the last 30 or maybe 32 years exactly, the Palestinian has been, listening to those promises of the two-state solution, but nothing is there, no implementation. United States is talking about it, UK, everybody is talking about it. There is a peace agreements, there is a signed documents by Israeli governments says that, okay, they will accept a two-state resolution, but practically they do not, which now gives the Palestinian, why this 7th of October attack took place? Because the Palestinian, they started believing that as if there is, it was just promises, signing of agreements, peace agreements, but no implementation. So as if there is, nothing is going to happen. That's why they went for this attack on 7th of October, because they started believing that, okay, we are just, being, bluffed by the Israeli governments and by all the other nations.
Pakistan will always remain on the Palestinian side, remain assured for that, Mr. Abdulrahman Matar, and we have always been supporting Palestine and the Palestinian cause on all the different fora, including even now as we speak. This is going on where the Palestinian side is being, highlighted by Minister Munir Akram, who is a special representative at the United Nations. Thank you very much, Abdulrahman Matar, Arab journalist, who have joined us in the studio. The fact is that at the moment we can only talk, we can only highlight as much as we can, and this is what we need to do, highlight as much as what is happening. And we need to understand,
we need to know what is happening.
I understand completely. Thank you so very much to have joined us. That was Abdulrahman Matar, leading Arab journalist from Pakistan, joining us and not only discussing the ruling by the International Court of Justice, where it has dismissed Israel's plea against the jurisdiction of the court, but also the fact of the details of the judgment. We haven't gone much into the details, but we have tried to get the gist of it. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the evidence of India's killings in Pakistan, and this is a media talk that was recently done by our Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Muhammad Cyrus Sajjad Qazi. He had a news briefing yesterday in which he talked about Pakistan having credible evidence of India's sophisticated and sinister campaign of extraterritorial killings inside of Pakistan. He said Pakistani authorities have credible evidence of links between Indian agents and the assassins of 2 Pakistani nationals on Pakistani soil. He said Indian agents use technology and safe havens on foreign soil to commit assassinations in Pakistan. They recruited, financed and supported criminals, terrorists and unsuspecting civilians to play defined roles in these assassinations. Now, of course, this has been happening, and the fact that Pakistan's destabilization is being orchestrated since quite a long time by India, and only now has the world risen to the occasion because of what has happened as far as the transnational terrorism by India in Canada and in the United States is concerned. We've been joined by Sundas Malik, Chairperson, United Jammu and Kashmir Coalition, in the studios to discuss more on that. Thank you very much, Sundas, to have joined us.
Thank you for having me.
Sundas, let's begin with the Modi government. I mean, I fail to understand when there is such a lot of proof against India and against the Modi government on involving themselves and their intelligence agencies in the activities, nefarious activities in Pakistan and other countries. Why is the world just not, I mean, it's doing, but why isn't it doing something concrete to stop India from continuing its this jingoistic and propaganda-based attitude?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, and secondly, I'd like to present my condolences to the Western powers who seem so helpless when it comes to India and their actions. I think it's quite a lot to do with the economic interdependence that they have with each other. But what they fail to understand is that as we see that India is a huge country, it has got a huge population, it is a democratic country, and at the same time we see that it is coming up as one of these extremist expansionist cults that we call Hindutva now. So I think this short-term, or we can say short-sighted economic interdependence has led the Western powers to become so helpless that they seem to not note what India has been doing within the region. But now when we see that India has expanded through the research and analysis wing, they have expanded their horizon to the Western powers themselves, like Canada and the US and Britain as well. So now we see that there is some response coming, as we see that these powers have asked senior raw agents to vacate their territory immediately, again citing fears of terrorism, fear of terrorism. So like I said, my condolences to these Western powers. They're so helpless.
All right. Sundas, RAW is secretly funding terrorist forces and TTP in Pakistan. This has been proven time and again, and now recently as well. What does India gain from it? I mean, why destabilize Pakistan? What do you get from that? It's your neighbor. You could have collaborated with Pakistan, discussed all the thorny issues, and just become one strong region. Why then destabilize Pakistan and continue to do that?
Well, I think this question has come up numerous times. Why India uses this, but unfortunately I think this is the only tactic which it can use to fool its own citizens as far as their plight is concerned with poverty, underdevelopment. We see 5% of Indians owning most of its wealth, and the rest are just left to cry. So when those masses, they're faced with those masses, the only way out is to blame Pakistan and blame the Muslim minority, and that is probably their only agenda, is to, in order to self-preserve their current regime. The name of the game is blame Pakistan. As you mentioned that if we were together, we would grow economically as well, and lots of opportunities would come. I think it's unfortunately too late for it. Since Indira Gandhi, we have seen that since the time of Indira Gandhi, the operation has been to break Pakistan, destabilize Pakistan, make a sort of a story against Pakistan as far as terrorism and destability is concerned. They fail to see that being close to your neighbors, being close to your immediate neighbors is a way towards progress. While we see that they're dependent on the US, but as far as their close neighbors are concerned, as far as their allies are concerned, they're far and few, I think, in the region, and not anymore. We've seen what happened with Sri Lanka, we've seen what happened with Maldives, we've seen what happened with Qatar. None of their immediate or further neighbors are happy with them. So I think it is only to satisfy the Indian extremist conscience that the government is taking these steps to destabilize Pakistan, so they have something to show to their own masses when they ask about the shortage of food and all the other supplies. I think that's the only.
They always use the Pakistan card as they was.
Yes.
Just look at the example of Kulbhushan Yadav, who was caught red-handed while trying to infiltrate from Balochistan. Gulzar Imam Shambe, Sarfaraz Ahmed Bangazi, both have admitted to the fact that they were being used by India. And then Balochistan, we know how Balochistan is being affected by all of it, and this is a deliberate attempt by India, and it has been even said in statements by the leaders in India. When there is proof, why is India not being reprimanded? There is ample proof. Pakistan has given ample proof in the past as well. Yes. I understand you were talking about the Western countries that are helpless, but what about the the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court in that respect?
Well, the
FATF.
Yes, I was going to mention the FATF. We have seen that FATF has had serious reservations about India, but unfortunately the issues that they flagged resulted in further suppression of its minorities within the Indian territory. We saw that these laws of anti-money laundering laws or anti-terrorism laws were merely targeting its minorities, and we have seen a serious reservation on the part of humanitarian organization as far as using these laws to suppress its minorities. As far as any sort of repercussion is concerned, I think Pakistan has always taken the lead in exposing India. We have released dossiers about Indian terrorist activities. We have spoken out and loud about Indian terrorism financing around the world. Now I think the world is waking up to what we were really talking about. Pakistan has always stood by its stance when it comes to destability within the region, and we have stood by our people as well. We have seen that India is not only trying to intimidate the Sikh activists within Canada or the US. We have seen a huge number of Sikh activists being intimidated and being terrorized within the Pakistani territory as well. And this recent expose of these raw agents, creating further destability in Pakistan proves our agenda, proves our reservations. I think sanctions is something which is very important. India should be sanctioned for these, terrorist activities, and the United Nations Security Council should take note of it. The International Human Rights Organization should also take note of it, because this is not just a single-tracked agenda. They want to expand. They want to expand in the region on the foot of terrorism and intimidation. And I think it is not just a warning for Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal or China. It is a warning for the rest of the world, because once they, have a stronghold within these regions, they're going to move for the rest of the world, as we see that they are moving towards them. But I think the rest of the world should also understand, and we see that the State Department has reservations about it. We see that the FBI has reservations about it. I think it is the political elite which needs to wake up to the reality of India and its terrorism and its terrorist mentality, and understand that this world's largest democracy propaganda is only for optics and nothing to do with reality.
I totally agree with you on that. And another thing that can happen also, the country can be part of any strategy, Asia Pacific strategy or any other strategy of the West, but at the same time they also can be reprimanded for the human rights abuses that they have been doing, and the infiltration in different countries that they have been doing. Speaking of infiltration, Canada, the United States of America, Pakistan, the Maldives, and so many other countries, Sri Lanka, Qatar. Do you feel all these acts are proving to be the diplomatic downfall of India?
Well, definitely. I think actions speak louder than words. India, although it propagates itself to be diplomatically very close to a lot of nations and diplomatically very successful, and as we know in the past their agenda has been to isolate Pakistan as well diplomatically, but I think this diplomacy has turned out to be a huge mistake for them, because now this exposure is even of a greater proportion, and this denial coming from these countries, this condemnation coming from these countries, I think it is badly stricken India, and it needs to, I think, reassess and introspect on its policy as far as its immediate neighbors are concerned immediately. I think because maybe the US doesn't care about a couple of people dying within its territory, and it doesn't really mess with their idea of sovereignty, but eventually if they are left to their own devices, I think it's going to be the problem, a huge problem for the rest of the world.
So, speaking of sovereignty, let's talk about the Indian Republic Day that was observed today, and the Kashmiris observed this as a black day because of the persistent denial of the democratic right to self-determination by India. There were a lot of protests across the Indian legally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, on this side of Kashmir as well. Will it generate some kind of pressure, any kind of pressure needed for India to retrospect, or do you feel India has gone to a point of no return?
Well, I think India should have some understanding of what is going on around the world, and it must have some understanding of what's going on around the world. As far as the Republic Day is concerned, as you are a Kashmiri, I'm a Kashmiri, we don't recognize it as a republic. We recognize it as an occupational power, a brutal occupational power within the Kashmir territory at least. I think these protests and all of these acts coming in together is going to have an effect on India, and it is going to pressurize India. As far as only the Kashmiri people are concerned and only the Black Days in Kashmir are concerned, I think there are quite a few Black Days that Kashmiris commemorate every year, and it has had no effect on India so far. So as far as the Kashmiris are concerned and their will is concerned, India doesn't care about them. But I think internationally, if the world understands that it is not just about Kashmir, it is not about Pakistan, it is about a greater menace that is lurking behind this so-called largest democracy, I think they'll understand.
And so-called pluralistic country as well.
Oh, well, we can discuss its pluralistic ideology at quite a length, but it doesn't exist.
I agree with you. Again, you talk of the different days that the Kashmiris observe. Yesterday was the 34th anniversary of the Handwara massacre.
Yes.
In 1990, 21 unarmed Kashmiris were martyred by Indian troops during a peaceful protest in Handwara. Do you feel when the Kashmiris or anybody gets together to highlight what has happened a few decades back, will that lead to any kind of probe being conducted on the international level? Because India will never do that, but I'm just talking on the international level.
Well, I think we should never be disappointed that such a probe might be conducted in the future. We have seen a huge precedent that's been set by South Africa now in the International Court of Justice. And I think if any of the allied nations who feels that the plight of Kashmiri people is right and it is rightfully there, then I think these sort of cases, there is no statute of time limitation on these war crimes, and I do consider them as war crimes because they're conducted under the brutal occupation of India. So I think these war crimes need to be taken to the International Court of Justice, and these people need to be probed, and like I said, sanctions must come for India.
Also through the FATF. I hope that really happens sooner than later. Speaking of international bodies, let's also discuss the United Nations, where many resolutions on illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are currently present. Pakistan has also recently urged a top official for the United Nations Alliance for Civilizations, Miguel Angel Moretinos, to play their role for the protection of Islamic sites in India. And this is in, of course, relation to what happened as far as the inauguration of the so-called Ram Mandir is concerned, on the very site where the Babri Masjid was massacred in 1992. And then, of course, the small riots that happened as a result of that. And then what they did, what the Indians did, they started to vandalize the shops of the Muslims.
Yes.
As a result of that. So there is a constant anti-Muslim, anti-minority tirade that is going on in India, that is supported by the Indian government. Will some action be taken by the UN or other international agencies in this regard?
Well, an action should be taken by these international agencies. However, as we see, Pakistan has put forward its reservations about the holy sites of Muslims in India. I think Pakistan is also worried about the Muslims themselves living within India, the Christians themselves living within India, and the Sikhs. All
the
minorities
Dalits as well.
Yes, all minorities are under threat. And as you mentioned, the Dalits, I think once they're done with the religious minorities, they are going to come towards their scheduled caste, and they are going to again exploit, eliminate, and intimidate them, just like they've done with the minorities. And I think this presents a very grim picture for India's future.
All right, thank you so very much, Sundas, to have joined us. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Sundas Malik, Chairperson, United Jammu and Kashmir Coalition, talking to us about India's nefarious activities and its involvement in the transnational or extranational killings. The latest example is that of Pakistan, and Pakistan has highlighted that very recently with proof. And I think it is time for the international bodies, whether it be the FATF, the United Nations, or other organizations, International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court, to step up and to take the necessary measures against India. This is long awaited. This is something that we have been looking towards because of the way India has been moving around as, being the terrorist in the region. Let's put it very blatantly out there. So I hope that some kind of reaction comes very soon from these international bodies. Let's come to our last two stories, ladies and gentlemen. The first is on NASA's Mars helicopter mission that has now ended. NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter, which had made history by achieving the first powered flight on Another World has officially ended its 3-year mission after sustaining rotor damage during its last outing. It was a tissue box sized thing. It's a very, very small thing, as you can see in the video, which hitched right on the red planet under the belly of the rover known as Perseverance, that first lifted off the surface on the 11th of April in 2021. It was intended to prove that flight was possible in the ultra-thin Martian atmosphere through 5 test runs. It went on to be deployed for a total of 72 times and acting as an aerial scout to assist its wheeled companion. So, of course, we have seen so many interesting footages thanks to Ingenuity Mars helicopter, which ends its 3 years. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's end today's show on a warm and positive note. The city of Harbin in northeastern China has become the latest internet phenomenon. Millions are flocking to experience its winter tourism. The city, which is preparing also to host the next Asian Winter Games, is home to a one-of-a-kind ice and snow festival. Let's watch more on this very report.
A winter dream world comes alive every year in Harbin, a city in northeastern China's Heilongjiang province, as it hosts the world's biggest ice and snow festival. It features mid to giant-sized sculptures carved entirely from ice and snow.
It's amazing what effort they put in this park and these sculptures and everything. So never saw something like this, and I'm looking really forward to see it by night.
The ice sculptures are fit with LED lights inside that come on in the evening, creating a surreal effect.
There's a Game of Thrones themed ice sculpture, and I love the show so much that I had to come.
State authorities say the festival area covers over 800,000 square meters, aptly nicknamed the Ice City. Over 250,000 cubic meters of ice from the nearby frozen Songhua River is used to make the sculptures. The latest edition opened on December 18th and runs until end of February. It has so far attracted over 3 million local and international tourists.
I love it so much. It looks gorgeous. It looks pretty good. I never see something like that before, and I really like it.
From adrenaline-pumping giant slides to getting jiggy with it at the festival's daily concerts and tons of other winter sports at the Songhua River, Harbin's tempo stays high despite temperatures that range anywhere from -8 to as low as -30 degrees Celsius. The ice and snow culture here has made Harbin the go-to place for winter tourism in the Far East. And with the city hosting the 9th edition of the Asian Games in 2025, it will look to cement itself even further. The game's mascots, 2 adorable tigers called Bin Bin and Nini, have already been making rounds in the city. It will be the second time Harbin hosts the games after the 1996 edition.
Our theme this year is Happy Ice and Snow, chasing dreams in Asian Winter Games. Today we have snow football, snow volleyball, curling, ice discs and other free public service projects. It's to get more people to participate in our snow and ice sports as a kind warm-up for the 2025 Asian Winter Games.
With the city continuing to trend across Chinese social media, it's expected that record attendance will be set before the ice begins to melt in March. Ida Waringa, CGTN for PTV World.
You just saw this report by CGTN for PTV World, and let's hope we all get the opportunity to go to Harbin one day to witness the winter tourism. With that, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah on Monday with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe, have a wonderful weekend. Allah Hafiz.